Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got a little bit of a special video for you today. I'm going to film a practice round here at Zuby Disc Golf Course out in Hockley, Texas, about 20 miles northwest of Houston. And I have a special announcement to make. Last week, for the very first time, I won a tournament, an actual disc golf tournament with a dozen other people. And it's my first win ever of any sort of tournament, either sanctioned or unsanctioned. And not just that, but wait, there's more. I got my first tournament ace with this disc. So in this video, I'm going to go through what happened last week. I didn't record it, and I'm going to do a practice round here. Not necessarily because I'm going to play a tournament here anytime soon. I might very well be doing that in the future, but I can't do that this weekend due to other conflicts. But I wanted to film a practice round because I need to practice throwing and get better. I'm trying some new things. So with all that said, let's get into it. So we're here at hole 1, and this is where most people start playing a casual round of disc golf here at the course. And this is actually where I met up with my friend Wyatt, who was on the card with me, and 2 others who joined us. Miles, as well as Joseph from Flipper Productions Disc Golf, another YouTube channel in and around the area. I'd actually met Joseph before, and we exchanged pleasantries, but we didn't really touch on the fact that we knew each other from YouTube channels. But on that day, we recognized we were from other YouTube channels, and we're going to work on getting a collab. But anyways, we sort of did a couple practice throws, couple of practice approaches, couple putts, and then we moved to hole 16. So hole 16 was where we actually started playing the tournament. We registered, logged in, and started playing. And I, of course, logged into the MA4 division, the novice division, because that's where I'm at. My ratings are in the low to mid 700s. My 4 previous disc golf rounds are in like the mid 600s to maybe mid 700s. And so that's the division I needed to play in, because I haven't yet proven myself in a sanctioned round to do above 700. So we got the card sorted out, and I basically threw my first, actual throw of the day, and here on hole 16. That's pretty good. So since this is a practice round, I'm not scoring here. I'm just going to sort of go over details of how my tournament went. I'm going to probably throw a few off each tee just to kind of, the real reason I'm here, besides to let you know how I did in the previous tournament, is to practice some things I've been trying. I completed the Scott Stokely 6-month online program, but there's still some things I needed to tweak on my form. So I've been working with Owen from Trebuchet Disc Golf, and he's given me some specific cues to work on my throws. So just so you know, I'm trying to focus on keeping a flat plane for my disc throughout. I'm trying to minimize wobble, and since this is all new to me, I'm trying to work on it when I can. So that was my FD, here's my TL. First was my leopard. Still haven't got a lot of things right, like power pocket, etc., etc. But if I can focus on getting the swing plane correct, I can reduce wobble and then start working on other things once I iron that out. So the interesting thing here is I think I did throw a leopard on my first drive of the game, and I landed probably around here, so that's kind of good. I'm not going to try to reenact everything that happened, but I want to let you know kind of what happened. I landed about here on the first hole, and missed the putt, not a big deal. I was playing conservatively. I was actually following sort of a list of strategies that Scott Stokely had taught in his course, and I believe that's why I scored so well. So I took an easy par on this hole. And just to keep it real with you, I am going to credit Scott Stokely, his teaching, his course, the training that he offered on his live stream, as part of the reasons I did so well in this tournament, because I had a list of things I was retelling myself over and over throughout the course to keep me locked in, set my expectations accordingly, and to make the right disc selection. Ooh. And actually what you're seeing here is a pretty fair replication of how things were starting off for me. I was really slow for the first few holes because I showed up at 5:30, 30 minutes before the end of the flex period. Basically had a chance to start as early as 9 a.m., something like that, or as late as like 6 p.m. and I had to work, take my son to work after I got off work, and then drive over here. So I got here at 5:30, literally practiced putting for like a minute, then joined them out on the tee. So how about this? Through this practice round, I'll just show you whatever the score was at the time that I was on whichever hole I was on. You can kind of see how things went. And I'm going to lead off with what I remember as the disc I played with first, which was in many cases a leopard. In this case, we had a little bit of a tailwind, I think, at the time, but I still needed to throw this kind of flattish just to get it, you know, towards the basket. And that's about, oh, that's actually better. That's a lot better than what the what I did in the tournament. Is I threw it threw completely flat, but didn't quite flip up. I may have had a slight hyzer, and it basically faded off to the side. I pitched up and then took an easy par. FD, Dark Rebel. So I'm trying to practice. I'm really only focused on keeping the disc flat, and that means I'm not actually reaching back or extending back as far as I should or can, but I think it's keeping the disc in line. There we go. Too high. Those last two look kind of like what my first throw did in the tournament. So here's my FD landed. My leopard was kind of around this area. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was close enough to where I could have a putt up shot. And I basically did that to get it close, easy tap in. All right, and just for the heck of it, since this is a practice round, here's the TL that I threw last off the tee. Well, look where this leopard landed. I actually kind of juiced it off the tee. This is a little surprising to me, but I love this leopard. So the basket is straight ahead, way up there by that tree, just to the left of it. It's probably real hard for you to tell. If I remember, I'll put a basket there, symbol. So yeah, after 2 holes of not really getting that close to the basket, I figured I would just keep trying to play to get kind of in the range of an easy upshot to the basket. That said, when I showed up to here, I slightly abandoned my game plan a little bit. I grabbed my Valkyrie and I decided I would push it a little bit and just see how far I could get. Okay, that's not bad for this hole. This is an easy par in my opinion. But what I did is I threw it to such an extent that Valkyrie caught a little bit of, because I was actually throwing into headwind at this point. The Valkyrie caught a little air, pulled this way, did an S-curve, 20 feet shy of the basket. I was 20 feet away. I'm gonna do one more with my flippy boy, my leopard, just to see if I can. Yeah, there we go. I should have put a little more height on it, but that's kind of what I wanted to do. Get it a little higher, let it flip a little bit. Okay, here's where this leopard went to in this practice round. I'm trying to work my sidearm, so I don't really have the time to practice this as much, but I do have time in a round to try it. So this is 100 feet away, so this is a good opportunity for me to practice this. That was my champion rhino. Looks like a bullseye. All right, this Valkyrie is 65 feet out. That I'd guess 60 feet out. 60, no, I guessed 65. It's 67 out per bush now, so I had actually guessed pretty correctly. So again, all I'm doing is practicing everything basically: drives, approach, up shots, basket runs. Okay, with these 2 practice round, putters, they're basically, tap ins. But this is actually where I landed in the tournament. And this was a chance for a birdie. So, put my marker down. I'm maybe 15 feet away. I got my putter, and then I did that with the putter, basically. Hit a tiny bit of chain and just completely fluffed it. And that was actually the first time out of the 3 holes that actually was like, oh, felt that little, not anger, but like depression, like, I missed an easy one. But that was a birdie that I lost out on. And the thing is, after I missed that birdie putt, Wyatt, who was there, he's one of our friends. You've seen him in videos before here on my channel. He's very supportive, and the other guys were very supportive too. We're all trying to wish, each other, perform the best that we can, even though, we're all trying to win the tournament and stuff like that. Or honestly, when I showed up, I wasn't trying to win the tournament. I just wanted to see if I get close to even par for the round, because that's been my goal. The 2 previous rounds that I'd play here, once against Sean and once against David, I managed to score a 4 over both times. So I knew I had the potentiality of scoring even, take a couple bogeys, maybe get a birdie or 2, but I didn't want to score any worse than say a 3 or 4. But that was kind of what I was hoping to do in the round. So I was playing very conservative. I was following the other Stokely guidelines that I had in mind for this tournament, but also Wyatt was very supportive, you know, and he was also running the scorecard for all of us. And it was just a pretty cool experience. So I got on this hole, and I felt like after the success of the Valkyrie, I could repeat it with this leopard. All I want to do is throw it flat and let it naturally curve. And of course, since we're filming a YouTube video, we've got an airplane coming in. So anyways, I'm going to try to replicate that here. And actually, that's a fair replication, although that one was better. I actually grounded the leopard when I was here the first time, and I was about 80 feet out. Let me try this with the Valkyrie and see if I can maybe have it up a tiny bit more, a little higher. Not exactly it. Got to work on my Anheuser, y'all. Let's try Roadrunner. There we go, that felt better. Okay, pulled it too much. Okay, I'll practice up shots from those two in a minute, but I just want to point out to you, this is where I landed off the tee, hole 1. So I'm about 80 feet out, so it's an easy approach with the Rhino. Something like that, right? But what I did actually was, let's take this AVR 3 as an example. That. So I left myself with somewhere between there, more like a 45 to 50 footer for par. All right, so here's the leopard off this tee here. All right, I'm going to economize my practice a little bit, maybe putt and practice throwing a little bit off camera, but this is what I was left with to get a par, and with similar results. So it was at this point I was starting to worry a little bit. I was feeling like maybe that even par score for the round was in jeopardy because I couldn't bank on getting a birdie in most places because most of the holes are not birdieable by me. So one thing I want to point out, the last round that I played in disc golf, tournament round, was a 762 rating before I started the Stokely method, and my rating going into this weekend was 757. So the interesting thing was I was actually performing a full 100 points above my rating, but not at this time. At this point, I hadn't even started playing well by my standards. So I grabbed the Mamba, had a slight right to left cross. I figured that would help keep this from turning too easily. And that's actually a fair representation of what happened. A little too high, a little too early. And now with the Smite, I'm going to try to correct a little bit. Again, try to go slow. Nope, I duplicated it. Okay, the battery just overheated, so I'll just continue. It was at that point I realized I needed to focus in more on disc selection. I had been throwing my Leopard because I didn't feel confident about my throws yet, and this reassured to me the idea that I was throwing too big a disc for the way I was playing, too conservative. So I decided I wasn't going to throw the Mamba again, and I'd try to throw the Leopard. So let me see if I can correct on those mistakes. There we go. A little high, but you see how it flipped up? Perfect. Okay, I placed this Maya and Mamba roughly where I was at in the tournament. I was a good 200 plus feet away. I had a chance to at least save par if I did an upshot right. But very similar to that, it was short and it made for a long putt. All right, here's the Leopard off the tee here, the correction. You know, I'm finding it more therapeutic to relate what happened than it is to actually have a practice round. I'm about 160 out. Oh, behind the basket. Here, guys. Let's see. So I ended up somewhere around here, had a good, I don't know, 30 feet out, and I wasn't really dialed in, and I managed to, kind of fluff the putt, and I took another bogey. This is when we reached hole 3. As you know, I'm not a fan of 528-foot holes that are par 3, because I knew, for me at least, it would take 200% solid rips with the disc to get one out in the middle and one close to the basket. And my friends, that's exactly what happened. I parred this hole and everyone else on the card bogeyed it. One thing I did do was use my rangefinder on holes like this to help me tell how far away from the basket. In fact, most holes I did that, so that gave me an idea of what disc to use. So that was a good disc selection protocol that I was using. And this Mamba here was the same disc that I threw, except when I was on the tournament, it was more that way. But this is 228 feet from the pin. So was that one. So knowing my discs, I had my Leopard here, and I knew I could get kind of close to the basket, enough to at least putt. Okay, that one's going to tail off a little bit, but what happened was, grabbed my Leopard, threw it, and I got to, I think, something like 15 feet. I ended up somewhere around here, actually, just about bullseye. And I managed to par this hole, which is something I don't think I've ever done before. At this point, I don't know how much of the practice round stuff I'm going to leave in. But whatever, it's more of a recreation round, recreation round for a recreational disc golfer. At this point, I now took the front of the box after playing the whole of my life. Basically, the way I played that was probably as good as I could have expected. And so I got up to here, and I remembered the doubles round that I played with Wyatt against Sean and Chance, and I threw a Mako 3, and because it's a faster disc, I fluffed it, and I ended up, you know, early releasing, fluffed it, and it was a good 30-40 feet to the left, and we took a par on that hole. So I remembered a plan to use a putter the next time I came here. And side note, I had no idea I was going to play this until the day of. It was noon, and my friend Chad, also on the channel, he messaged me. Well, Wyatt said, hey, do you want to play TC Jester later? I said, sure. Then I said, Chad, do you want to join us? And he said, sure. Then Chad got back with me 20, 30 minutes later, and he said, hey, we got this tournament up in Zuby. You want to come play with us? And I was like, well, I'm kind of on the fence. So about noon, 1 o'clock, I agreed to come out here and play. Finished work, took my son to work, and drove out here. I got here at 5:30. But at that point, I realized I'm just going to see what I can do. So when I got to this hole, after playing the whole of my life, I knew I was going to take this Aviar 3, just throw it towards the basket. And that's basically what I did, except a little higher. And what happened was the disc hit those trees right there and ricocheted down, and I basically had to tap in for birdie. That was my animal. The putt that I had for birdie was somewhere around here, and that was the easiest time I've ever had on this hole. And the first time I've ever birdied it. I've only parred it the other times I played it. It was at this point, having got myself back to almost even, I think I was one over at the point. You'll see on the score, whatever it is. And I was actually keeping track of my score, certainly better than what I'm doing right now. And I realized that I got one back from the course by getting that birdie there. So basically the safeties were off. And I realized I was warmed up enough to where I can try to execute the shots as intended. So I grabbed my Mamba on this long hole. And of course it's too long for me to birdie unless I get the absolute perfect drive. And even then it'd be a long putt. So I knew to just go 80–85% with this and see how far I can get. And that's a fair replication of what happened. I'll do some more practice throws and then I'll go up there. So this is a fair approximation of where I landed. I may have been a few feet back further than this. I think I'm about 50 feet out, and I think I was 60 out. So I knew I couldn't necessarily make the basket, but I can get close and make a soft bid, so that's what I did. And with about similar effect. Parring a 327-foot hole was basically what I wanted. That's what I planned for, and I was glad I could execute it. And I felt like all the cylinders were firing well in this round. Okay, it was at this point, I think I lost the front of the box. I think someone birdied, maybe 1 or 2 people birdied on the card. I have a hard time remembering what happened on this hole. But basically, I knew how I was going to play this hole because, again, 2 months ago I played with Wyatt, Sean, and Chance, and I threw a Leopard and I threw a dead straight. And what I needed and when I threw that Leopard, straight, it went too far, and it put me in a bad position to where I could only get a par. So I knew I needed a slower disc. So I brought out the Star Manta, which is a little bit less stable than Leopard, but has less potential distance. And I knew that if I could throw the right line, slightly flat, up a little bit, it would anhyzer and at least kind of give me a chance for a birdie. So I'm going to try to replicate that shot. You guys can't really see it, but there's a little itty bitty tree there, and it's behind that. I'll see if I can put a basket indicator, but that's essentially where the basket was. And I couldn't see it on the tee pad. I just wasn't able to see it as well. So I grabbed the disc and I just threw it forward. And it kind of did that, but just a little higher. And that's par for birdie. All right, well, this is actually pretty good. So this is as good as I would have expected in the tournament.
Yeah, you're definitely on the bit more now.
Yeah, my first tournament ace. Little Star Manta. The boys are with me. Thank y'all very much for witnessing it.
Tap it. You gotta tap it.
Yes, sir. Or whatever there. All right, I'm holding this up just so you can see. I wish I would have took this picture last week, but this will be for my thumbnail. There you go. Oh! Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Well, what's your name? Yeah.
Called it too.
Jose? Jose? Cool.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, Sean, you're going to like Jose. He turbo putts like you. He loves to turbo putt. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Heck yeah.
Be able to see the video of it?
Yeah, it'll come out Monday.
Okay. What's the channel?
Nick Harold Disc Golf. All right, here you go. Here's Jose's first ace on video. Awesome. What disc is it?
That's the GOAT.
The GOAT?
How many times have you aced this hole?
This is my 8th time.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
I hit it on Tuesday as well.
Heck yeah. Awesome, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Wow. Well, how do you follow that up? Well, my friends, you don't. Back to the grind. My play here was to just get a rhino because I successfully threw a rhino and birdied in the doubles round with Wyatt. I knew what to use. This is a different rhino than the R Pro one that I used, so I grabbed the Champ Rhino, and all I wanted to do was get a birdie. All right, that was bad. Let me see if I can recreate that with my Aviar X3. Okay, here's my X3. Let me see if I can slow down, because I remember now what I forgot to do. I'm trying to not just, keep this on the flat plane. I'm trying to not look away. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to focus at what I'm doing, do that, and then throw. So let's try this again, focusing on what I wanted to do. There we go. That's a lot closer. And that's exactly where my rhino landed in the tournament. Actually, this is more like three feet to the right. I think I was over there. But yeah, my birdie putt was basically that. Pretty crazy. And at this point, I'm pretty sure I was ahead of the card, at least in terms of score. Although, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention since Wyatt was scoring. I was just playing. Not even focusing on what my overall score was, but I was fairly confident I was around the even mark. At this point, but I was kind of pumped up on energy from the last 2 holes. So I was like, well, let's just keep it going. Basket's there. Let me get my Leopard and do a nice slow hyzer flip. That was a heck of a lot better than what I did. And what I did is I slightly over-rotated, released late, and I kicked myself into the woods 60 feet away from the basket. Okay, I was somewhere around here. I don't know exactly where, but I was about 60 out from the basket. So I just grabbed my rhino and threw it close to the basket. That's all I wanted was a tap in, easy par. All right, this actually isn't bad. I'm like, what, 40 feet out, maybe 35? I tapped in for my easy par, and then I went on to the next hole. Okay, you're not gonna see the basket because it's behind all those trees and I can't get a good camera position. So I'm just gonna throw the FD, which is what I threw during the tournament. I threw that too high. Let me see if I can throw this TL a little bit more the way I wanted to, because I threw it the way I wanted to in the tournament. There we go, that's perfect. That's basically how I threw my FD. Came up a little short, but I liked it. The FD had landed around here somewhere, so I didn't really have a good chance of getting in. I did do a soft bid, but I don't even think I'm not sure if I hit the basket. Yeah, I think I ended up like just over there somewhere, but yeah, basically a tap in. So I was 2 under at this point, although I don't recall if I was aware of it at this time. I knew I was a little bit better than even, but I don't think I was in the moment like I could have been. But to be honest, I never planned on being in the moment, although I was kind of keeping track. I was able to keep track of the scores I made pretty clearly and what I did. But at the point, I couldn't just tally it mentally. So I just didn't worry about it. I couldn't tell how I was doing compared to the others. And so I knew when I got to this hole, I could easily bogey this one because I'm scared of throwing across it, or I've been scared. But in the last year, I've become more confident in my distance, and having started to readjust my form and then going through the Stokely method, I didn't really fear losing a disc, but I did grab my Valkyrie, which is a foundling basically. This is a starter set Valkyrie. It's Champ, 170 gram, but it came out of a starter kit as near as I can tell. So it's not as stable, but it's completely expendable. So in the past, I would throw a Dragon because I was fairly confident I would grip lock or do something stupid, lose it in the water. Here, I wanted a decent throw and I couldn't trust the Dragon to do it, even with my form changes. So grabbed the Valkyrie and all I wanted to do was get across. And that's kind of a fair representation of what happened, although I think I hit over there and was behind the bigger tree. So instead of those little trees, I was behind that bigger tree over there. So I ended up behind this tree, and I think I did a backhand, and I was just trying to get close to the basket. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did a backhand with my animal. And I did essentially that, except I put it a little too high, and it went a little bit farther back, about 15 feet, a little bit up on that slope. So I think I got this camera in frame, but I was essentially somewhere back here. So I had an easy putt for par, and I was feeling good about myself. Is at this point, I felt confident I could play this hole for par. I knew if I got 2 good drives, not great drives, but good drives, I could get a decent chance at an upshot and get it close enough to the basket. So I grabbed my Mamba or my Maya, one of those, I can't remember which, but I remember after I threw it, I felt like that was the wrong decision and I should have thrown the other. But at the time, I didn't realize the Mamba and the Maya had practically identical flight in my hands. But and I learned that later, a few days later. But at the moment, I figured my Mamba, I think I threw my Mamba. And I know you don't see that, but that's even better than what I threw in the tournament. Okay, I'm about parallel to where that Mamba was over there. I'm pulling myself over here closer to where I was. I couldn't see the basket, but it was up there, and I knew that I didn't get close enough to the halfway point to there. So I knew if I just got another throw, just going towards that direction, I would have a chance for an upshot. Let me see if I can replicate that shot better. There we go. That's basically what I tried to do, is hyzer it that way and get it closer to the basket. But what happened was I anhyzered it a little bit too much and it ran close to some trees. All right, so the disc I just threw is actually over there. I've actually got a long putt, which is more than I got. So basically, the way you're seeing me play those 2 throws is better than what I did in a tournament. So all I got to do is get it close enough to the basket. And what I did is, instead of getting it close enough to the basket, I pulled it off into those trees over there. That's actually better. Okay, that's pin high. Oh man, if this is my 3rd throw in the tournament, I'd have an easy par because I'm maybe 60 feet out. See, just lay it up. But alas, that's not what happened. What happened was I ended up here under there, and I didn't have a good chance for par. I can't remember exactly where I was at, but I didn't have a really good putt for par. But I still ran it, and I missed it basically. I actually landed just shy, basically where that disc under the pin is, that's where my putt attempt landed. So I played this hole enough times to know what my play is on it, and it's throwing my leopard with slight hyzer, a little high, and letting it pan out in anhyzer. It's way too long for me to go to birdie on, but I at least have a chance for a par if I throw this correctly. And that's basically it. That's a little outside, but what I threw ended up square in the middle of the fairway. All right, so my leopard's actually over there, but I was actually more about here. So I grabbed my rhino, and I was about 100 feet out. I think I'm maybe a slight bit outside of what I was. And then I got right under the basket. Okay, that went a little bit too far, but I managed to get lucky enough to put it right under the basket. All right, so I was like literally here under the basket, not where that rhino was. And I was very lucky to get to that point. So I was still under par at that point. It actually did happen. I recorded an ace just about 30 minutes ago. A guy on hole 7,
Yeah.
he just aced. So I've got that on video. So that's gonna be out there. So, all right, this is the disc that I threw. It's an Atlas. I can't see it, but probably y'all can't either. Okay, just behind the basket. That was a nice run. All right, for this, I threw either a Maya or a Mamba. I think I threw the Maya, I'm not really sure. But since it's way too far from my reach, I just wanted to get it kind of out there. That was too much anhyzer, but it was effectively out there. All right, so this Maya ended up roughly where I was. I think I was a little bit more inside. But anyways, this is approximately the distance that I was. I took my rhino. Ooh, I juiced that one. I put a little more touch on it, but I threw it and I managed to get within like 10, 12 feet of the basket, and I had an easy par. All right, I don't remember exactly where I was, but I was like in the bullseye, so that's how I got a par here. So this was the last hole round, and to be honest, I don't even remember what I did at this point. I was so tired, and we're literally about the moment in time that it was at that point, so I was just ready to get done. So I threw whatever driver that I had, and okay, that buzzed the tower, but I ended up next to it and I birdied it, and that was the last hole that I played. All right, well, I don't even remember where the disc landed. It was like somewhere around here, and I put it in for a birdie, and that basically wrapped up my tournament. I want to thank you guys for watching this kind of eclectic little video with all sorts of special guests and surprises. And I plan on doing more and different unique content in the future, so you're welcome to subscribe. I hope you like the video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.